Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our fourth and final webinar in the autumn webinar series on building sustainable communities, national and international perspectives. My name is Aoife Corcoran, and I'm the Sustainability Advisor here at the Housing Agency. I'm joined today by my colleague Tara Doyle, who's running the back end of the webinar, and by our speakers Levan, Ekhvaia, and Dr. Stephan Anders from DGNB, Deutsche Gesellschaft für Nachhaltiges Bauen, or the German Sustainable Building Council. And we're also joined today by the Chief Executive of the Housing Agency, John O'Connor, who will say a few words in a moment. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to a small piece of housekeeping. First of all, we have a Q&A button at the bottom of your screens. If you have any questions, we would ask that you use the Q&A function. If you just want to make a comment, please just add them to the chat. Finally, just be aware that this session has been recorded and will be made available on the Housing Agency YouTube channel. As this is the final webinar, a link to the full series will be sent to all participants. The slides will also be made available on request. The agenda for today's webinar is as follows. John O'Connor will now give a few words of an introduction. Levan and Stephan will then present on making sustainability happen, insights from Germany on the DGNB Sustainable Building Certification System. We will then have a Q&A session where we would encourage you to participate and ask any relevant questions you may have. If we can't answer your questions as part of the webinar, we'll make every effort to answer them at a later stage. We aim to keep today's webinar to a maximum of about 60 minutes. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Aoife. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. I would firstly like to acknowledge that this is a very important series of webinars on a range of aspects of sustainability, which are relevant for housing and development. In general terms, sustainability can be achieved through the application of the principles of environmental protection, economic effectiveness, social inclusion and participation, and cultural adequacy. We need to focus on sustainability. We are facing two major crises: the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. Even though they are interrelated, it's important that we recognize them as two separate crises, both climate change crisis and the biodiversity crisis. And they both have major effects on where and how we approach building and development. We need to focus on the overall sustainability of developments. Often a lot of approaches can just focus on the actual building or the house or the apartment we're building, but we need to look at development in a much more holistic way and think of sustainability, addressing biodiversity, addressing climate change in a much broader way. So that's the main thing I'd like to say to you today. Today, we're going to hear about the DGNB Sustainable Building Certification System. The sustainability of the DGNB system has a broad scope and it comprehensively covers all the fundamental aspects of sustainable building and district. I think that broader aspect is very, very important and very critical in terms of how we approach development. The DGNB system is recognized worldwide as the leading way in terms of sustainability and taking that broad approach. We are joined here today by Levan, Ekhvaia, and Dr. Stephan Anders from DGNB. Levan is the DGNB International Senior Consultant with responsibility for development of the DGNB International Rating, Ranking and Certification System, National and International Construction Project Assessment and Certification, Life Cycle Assessment, and life cycle costing. Levan's background is in construction, real estate management, and mechanical engineering. Stephan is the director of DGNB system and is responsible for all national and international certifications at DGNB, both districts, buildings, interiors. He is also responsible for the development and international application of the certification systems for sustainable urban districts and industrial locations, as well as the DGNB auditor training and university cooperation. Stephan is also a lecturer for urban planning at the University of Applied Science in Stuttgart. I'm going to hand you over now to Levan. So Levan, if you could turn on your mic and your camera. Thanks. You're very welcome here today.
Hello. First of all, thank you having us today. I will present our system with my colleague Stephan, and I will now share the screen. I think my picture is freezing time to time, but I will turn off my video in order to save some traffic speed. I hope you all see my screen right now.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so we'll start because we have some slides to share with you. So, no need to introduce ourselves twice. So me, responsible for international projects, and Dr. Stephan Anders, head of and director of DGNB certification. We will present the slides today for you. So what is a DGNB is a very first question. The DGNB is started as a non-governmental association or organization. Meanwhile, with more than 2,200 or 1,200 members, founded in late 2007, and it's the biggest network for sustainable building in Europe, at least. As a daughter organization, is a DGNB system, which is about all the certifications and development of the system itself. We are currently now certified more than 6,000 projects worldwide, and we are developing and setting the benchmarks for sustainability on a global scale. And the third entity of the DGNB is DGNB Academy. It's all about the trainings and sharing and spreading the knowledge. We have more than 4,000 experts meanwhile. This is our office, the main entry. You see the link on the upper screen or left screen of side of your screen. You can later on just click on it, and we share naturally our presentation, and you can make a tour, 360-degree tour in our office. This is our office, actually, the working and very pleasant environment for working, and sharing to also for visitors, which are more than 500 up to now. Thinking about the membership, you might think it should be only architects or engineers or some construction companies, but you see the small amount of the logos on the screen. There's starting from the auto manufacturer like a Porsche or Mercedes up to the pharmaceutical companies like Bayern. So all kind of and possible membership we do have, and they are full scale of rainbow palette, if I can express this. So we also have the cooperations besides the standard membership. We are cooperating with the institutions, with legal entities, with public and private units. We also have DGNB system partners, which does mean that locally this DGNB system is fully adapted to the country, and in Austria, Switzerland, Denmark, and now in Spain, they are using our DGNB scheme translated into the local language, and not only a language, into the local requirements and standards. So they are using the same principles as we are, but they are running everything locally. This is a status quo of the DGNB project. As I said, we just overlap the border of the threshold of the 6,000 units of the certifications. So you see there's also a big number of the small residential buildings. It's so-called serial certifications and multiple certifications when you have one sample building and you multiply on the various locations. And from the DGNB experts, as I said, we have more than 4,000 experts worldwide, and you see almost 50% are the international experts. The share of between the expertise is the auditors are up to 1,000, up to more than 1,300 are registered professionals with entry level knowledge for mainly for students, and the consultants almost 2,000 persons. These are the DGNB academy activity worldwide. So you see that regardless of COVID drama, we have managed something still to give the trainings worldwide. The last one was in Stuttgart. The previous was in Taipei, and also the previous one in Bangkok. Naturally, online sessions. So the week of half a day presentations and some activities and homeworks included. So the market for sustainable building will be presented from Stephan. So stage is yours.
Yeah, hello everybody, also from my side. So I wanted to tell you only some aspects about the market for sustainable building. So next. Here in the next slide, you can see the sustainable building market share here in Germany. So you can see here the green ones are not certified and the blue one are green buildings. And what is interesting is the gray line, where you can see that the average, more or less, more than 20% of each commercial building in Germany is certified by a green building, independent green building label. So that's really, really amazing, the effort we have done in the last years. And we see also since the last 2 years, there's a lot of demand also from banks and investors who say, okay, there's something going on the EU side. Also, people are asking for that. And so we are curious how to bring our building stock, also existing buildings, get certified or even climate neutral. Next. So in Germany, we are the market leader with a share of 84% of all certified buildings, and also outside from Germany, in Europe, getting more and more projects, and people know us. So in the German-speaking countries, so you saw before also Austria and Switzerland is one of our partners. So there also we have a market share of 60%. And for districts, I think that's a special topic. We explain you also later. We are a market leader in Europe. And as I mentioned, we're getting more and more international projects. So 40% of them are outside from Germany. What is interesting to see that there on a EU side, there's a lot of discussion about how to bring the EU to the goal to be climate neutral. And that's a climate framework for 2030 goals to 32% of renewable energies and reduction of greenhouse gases by 50%. That's a lot. So that's even only 10 years. So each building, whether you do a renovation or if you build something new at the moment, we have to be more or less climate neutral if you do it the right way. But we see also here in Germany that is not the case. Okay. Interesting to see is also the aspect of the EU taxonomy. I don't know if you hear about that. So that's a classification system for sustainable investment. So criteria, what is sustainable and what is not sustainable. Not only buildings, also infrastructure and other projects, but we are on the working group also for buildings, and see that also the indicators we still evaluate with the DGNB system, It's also a part of this EU taxonomy. So we evaluate them more, but at the end, we will show that if you certify your building, then you get automatically also all the information you need for the EU taxonomy. So the DGNB certification is in the future also a valid proof for the EU taxonomy, and it's near future. So the EU taxonomy will come in 2021. There's a lot of money behind.
Okay. So how to achieve this? I will present the first part of the system. So our DNA of the DGNB system is a life cycle approach. So we consider alongside the buildings the 360-degree scope. So we are focusing on the planning phase, we are focusing on the use phase, we are focusing on the demolition and the recycling potential. That's it. Our approach is once mentioned as a holistic approach. So we have a quite equal emphasis on the environmental, social, and economical aspects, and our emphasis is on performance and not on the certain individual measures. So to us is important what targets are achieved and not how only. In order to see this in a timeline, so we have the pre-certifications for the projects which are in a planning phase. We have the construction site certifications as well. We have the new building certifications. We have certifications for building in use, and right now it was launched. It's in a pilot phase a couple of months ago, the certification for dismantling. This is a current certification international version 2020, which was launched at the start of this year, and I'm proud that me and a small team of us was involved in the development of this version, with the main focus naturally is for the people, with included circular economy aspects, also directly linked to the Sustainable Development Goals and EU conformity, and with a space for innovation, which is a revolutionary for us at least, that we are giving some space for innovation as well. And you can actually assess this not only qualitative, also quantitative, this one. So as once mentioned, we have the three major topics in our system: environmental, economic, and social cultural qualities, which are all three have 22.5% out of 100, overlapped with the technical quality, process quality, and the site quality with the 5%. So what kind of building schemes do we have right now? And this is a live document. It does mean that at the end of the and up to the end of this year, one new scheme will be added, which are assembly buildings. So right now we can certify the hotel, shopping centers, offices, consumer markets, production, educational buildings, logistics, commercial buildings, residentials. So these are all schemes for the new building certification. We have a district level as well. We have a building level as well. We have interiors and building in use. So not only the 300-degree view is for the life cycle approach for the building. So we also have this a very broad approach to the unit of the building and the construction units. This is a criteria set. I'm speeding up a little bit because, as I said, we have some slides to share with you. So this is a criteria set for the new construction from the version 2020. So starting with a building life cycle impact assessment, with life cycle costing, etc., etc. And you see the three highlighted criteria, which are so-called minimum requirements from our side. So if you not getting at least fulfilling at least the minimum quality required by these three indicators and criteria, the project cannot be certified. So we really care about the indoor air quality, which is included also the on-site indoor air quality measurement designed for all, which is all about the barrier-free access entries for the end use of the building, and the fire safety, naturally, as a safety at first. So we have then, as a result, we have the different colors of the awards. So the desirable and the most desired and the ultimate target goal is a platinum one, which is comes in force when you are getting 80 or more percent of fulfillment. Then is a gold, silver, and the bronze. Outside of this one, you see also the second line with so-called minimum performance index. So it does mean that in order to get the platinum, you have to have the total performance index at least 80%. But for each quality, I have shown you in previous slides, is 6 qualities: economical, environmental, social, technical, etc. You have to have at least 65%. It does mean that in the DGNB system, you cannot skip a quality. You can not say, okay, I don't care about the economical part, I will invest everything in one direction only. So this is impossible. So in this case, you will certainly fail. So this is a tricky part, but also it guarantees a holistic approach and the quality from 360 degrees. Besides these classical awards, we have also some design quality award, which is called the GNB Diamond. It comes on top to the platinum and gold certifications, and also we have launched the climate positive or carbon neutral building awards, which is related to the building in use certification scheme. So these are some kind of examples only, with a special award of design quality, which is about the committee which receive the candidates from certified buildings, and they decide which can get this award. Regretfully, this is only currently only available for the German market. I hope so. Someday we can also arrange an international team of the architects and consultants to make decisions regarding design quality in Diamond. So what is about the certification timeline? So all the buildings before building gets into the use phase, you can certify the building with a pre-certification. The buildings between 0 and 3 years of use can be certified as a new building, new constructions. Later on, you can certify the building as an existing building with an existing building certificate and or an renovation. And after the 1 year, you can also certify the building with a certification scheme building in use. So what is a scheme, or what is a procedure behind the certification process? So it does mean that then the investor search for auditor or consultant on the one hand, and also then the other contract with us, the DGNB, to apply here and hand over all the documentation. The auditor itself, it's independent from us, because we have no contractual agreement or between the auditor or consultant. We only once handed over the license after the successful training and the conformity check, and then they are completely independent. So we can be as a third party independent in the conformity assessments. These are only a small number of various use profiles of the buildings, just to create some feeling how big is the range of the DGNB scheme certification for the buildings. So you see the high-rise office buildings, residential buildings in China, for example, or logistic buildings down completely built with a load-bearing structure with a wood one. This is my favorite one. Also, this project actually has a 1.1 megawatt PV on a roof. This from Alnatura logistic building. And what is one unique aspect in the DGNB certification is that DGNB system, which is in Germany, written for Germany, can be adapted, and it is also adaptable to local conditions for the other countries. It depends on the climate zones, local laws, weighting factors, benchmarks, all can be adapted. So you can imagine that the climate zones, what the classical case is, maybe in Vietnam, you don't need to consider the heating period, so it can be adapted. So local laws, you have to fulfill, for example, some local law regarding design for all aspects, or for example, the weighting factors of the, let's say, for water criteria, it has to be adjusted because it does makes more importance in your country or region. So then benchmarks can be also adapted to the country specific use. So this is a very unique approach. The system is written in a such way that you can easily adapt to any country on a globe scale. And you see as an example, so this awarding ceremonial it was in China. So we are making projects and able to certify worldwide. And one more very, to my mind, is very and most important aspect about regarding the holistic approach is that you see in comparison with other schemes. In this case, we pick up the most big ones, the LEAD and BREEAM. So you see that the distribution of the topics, it's quite symmetrical in the DGNB system. So we have this blue color, the economical part, with the same weighting share like social and environmental aspects, because we are convinced that if the project is not economically viable, it's only for it's only for very motivated certain persons. So you have to consider this aspect as well with the same weight in order to make sustainable buildings a new normal. So actually, we have also the data supports us that to make and build a sustainable building, it is really not related with an extra cost. So it does mean that in order to really change something and save the world, if you want to say this, you have to go for the big scale, and big scale is only then when it's also economically viable. So the next one will be again picked up from Stephan. Stephan.
Yeah, we put out two systems because I think they are very interesting for you. One of that is this building in use, and next then buildings and districts. Buildings in use is our approach with our only 9 criteria to have a very slim evaluation scheme for existing buildings. And important for that is that there's a strong focus on climate protection aspects. We described here also a framework for climate neutrality, because it's always a question. So what you think, what you calculate therein and what you let out in the calculation. So there we defined this framework. And the idea is with this tool, with the buildings in use scheme, to get the projects over a period of time to be climate neutral, latest 2050. Next. So this is, for example, one climate protection roadmap, how we call it. So the idea is, so the main goal in all buildings in Europe is to be climate neutral in the operation phase of the building to 2050. So scientists say it should be better to be climate neutral in 2035. But yes, so this is the idea behind the system. And then to develop an individual project-specific climate protection roadmap, so that investors or owners of the buildings know if they have to do something on the roof or the heating energy supply, then they know what measures they have to do to be climate neutral at the end. So you can see these 9 criteria. So also in the same weightness, the environmental, economic, and social cultural criteria, 3 of them. And for example, you can see here climate action and energy is very important. So this has an impact of 30% of the whole evaluation. And related to this buildings in use scheme, we offer there also an award for climate positive buildings. So if you can show with your building that over the last year you produce at the end more energy on the building than you consume, then you can get this climate positive award or net zero carbon building operation. And here you can see that it's still possible. Still now, some new projects here in Germany who produce more energy than they consume. For example, the main hall of the city of Freiburg in the south of Germany on the top, but also residential buildings and logistic buildings. So it's still possible. Okay. Okay, that was only a small view into this buildings in use scheme. Another aspect we think it's very interesting for you is our scheme for buildings for districts. So a totally other scale. So in the criteria overview, you will find there are also some criteria. They are the same, like for buildings, like we do there also life cycle assessment, but not only for the buildings, also for infrastructure and open spaces. We do also life cycle costing analysis, but also for the open spaces. And then there are some other aspects inside, for example, city climate, land use, biodiversity, open space and urban design criteria. So more focus on the urban scale. Overlap to that, we have there also some core criteria. They are included in the criteria, 30 criteria at the end. So climate protection is very strong aspect we included in the criteria, but also climate adaptation, biodiversity, we heard before, that's a big topic right now. And other aspects we also include like circular economy. So we think at the moment it's really all aspects you have to consider to have at the end a good and really sustainable project and urban district. We have to consider here the criteria. Yeah, like for buildings, we also developed their different schemes. We started with urban districts, but then we make also adaptations from the urban districts to commercial areas, business districts, industrial sites. So because there are some things different, so that's a core criteria, but some criteria we have to change. For example, for industrial sites, we focus also a little bit more on the comfort of the workplace, for example. And we have offered there also some special profiles for event areas, for holiday resorts, and so on. Next. So some slides of our projects. Here is one of a project. They started with us the pilot phase in 2012. So in Denmark, Copenhagen, a Nordhaven project, a really giant project. And the first phase of this new urban district is still constructed. And you see it's had also great design quality. Other project they will build now in the next years because our main airport in Berlin is now finished. This is the existing airport right now, the Berlin-Tegel airport, and they will build their new business innovation district there also. This also did have done a pre-certificate to set the right goals. Another project in Berlin, very dense, Urbane Mitte, it's still under construction. They use there also some existing buildings and infrastructures like the skate park. Okay. And our first project in China, in Qingdao, a part of the German, Sino-German Eco Park. It's also already existing and certified. There are also some buildings. Here's some other project in Luxembourg, but also in Spain, Barcelona, the stadium from the FC Barcelona, we certified, and a special project in Mongolia, Maidao Eco City, so the next main city of Mongolia. They build it right now. Okay. Levan?
Levan, I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute, Levan, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello, do you hear now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. So sorry for some weird reason. I don't know, it automatically just set me off. Anyway, okay, I'm jumping in again. So that's social housing and project, so certified projects, which can be a very cross point of those with a win-win situation. So the first of all, the very first thought is social housing need to be affordable, and how can it cope with the certification? It should be expensive, and it can be existing both aspects together. And actually, we think it's not only existing; we have some very good examples of co-living, and the DGNB certification is a valid proof of achievement of the targets. It's at least in Germany, it's a very love approach to make your real estate portfolio more, and for stakeholders also more secure, and also ease to get the permissions, etc., from the public side. So these are a very few examples of the existing social housing projects, which are mainly for residential purposes. Naturally, there's the
Okay, I think we've lost Levan there. Stephan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. So I don't know, technical problems. So you can see an overview about some projects in the social housing field in Germany. So on the top, you see there was a renovation of an existing urban district for residential use. They get there also a gold certificate. You can see here they put a lot of PV on the roof. And on the right side, you see here, for example, the biggest or the highest wooden skyscraper for residential use. What is there really interesting to see? They have a really small apartments, only one or two rooms with 30 square meter, but they have a lot of areas where people come together on the rooftop, but also in the ground floor, and can meet and have their bigger kitchen for if they have also a family event or something like that. So they have integrated there some interesting aspects, and it's really cheap also there to get an apartment because they're also not so big, but they have also good quality inside. Next. Sorry for that.
Stephan, I think we've lost Levan, so we can finish up there if you want, and we can have a discussion and wait for him to join back in, or has he joined us back? Levan, are you still there?
Sorry for these technical problems. We need maybe one or 2 minutes. Can we go further?
No problem at all. Okay, guys, we're just going to hang on a minute or two while Stephan and Levan try to reconnect with their presentation there. I see we have a couple of questions coming in there for the guys, so this is a great opportunity to get typing your questions if you can, and put them in the questions bar. John will also be engaging on the discussion at the end. So if you have any questions for, I suppose, John on the Irish position on this, please type them in as well. Okay, there we are. We think we have the guys back. Okay, you're on mute, guys.
Okay, maybe you can hear me and you can see me. So we have still, now Levan is still there.
Yeah, so
okay.
This drives me crazy once again. So I just jumped into the added value of the certifications, And to summarize with a few slides again. So for the users, what does it mean, the certification itself? So your user is a high quality with a less additional cost. Actually, for investors, it's a secured values and low risks. And for planning, it's a great planning efficiency through the integral planning. So transparent quality control from the third parties, and there's also certificate is often used as a valid communications tool as well. So there's on the left-hand side, you see the list of some points which can be really important for certain users or investors as well. Actually, we also run an internal survey what does bring the certification as well. So it was a very good what we found also after the surveys. Besides the increase of value of the building itself, it was a very low absence of the buildings, especially in times of the 2009-10 when there was a real estate crisis. There was also the absence of the renting areas in Germany is between 20-30%, and for some reason the certified buildings, the absence of the renting, it was below 5%. So it was a very good opportunity for investors as well to secure the quality and also offer something more than a standard with no extra cost as well, which highlights this slide as well. For example, as you see that the platinum building does not really necessarily more expensive than a standard or the silver building as well. There's a ratio between the certification level and the costs, and you see the platinum is quite below the middle line here, and see the silver, it can be quite costly as well. And as you see, the most expensive building, it's struggling between silver and gold. And it does only mean that a good planning actually, and then a good timing will bring you and really enormous advantage. And sometimes you only have to know how to do this. It's not necessarily related to really an extra measures or cost itself. So thank you, and sorry for really 1,000 times for interruption. It goes for some reason, I don't know, because of internet connection, so the reconnection. And so anyway, here is a link of our publications, which are free to download, read, and they are in English language available. And right now it's a question and answers time. So I will stop sharing my screen and wait for questions, or just you can, I don't know.
Okay, Stephan, Levan, thanks very much for that. Very, very interesting. And don't worry about your slide stall. And I think that's the nature of the game with these online webinars. So we have a couple of questions coming through. So one of our panelists is keen to know, in terms of residential development, what's the cost of the certification?
So there's two main parts of the cost. So one is the certification fees. They depend also which system you use. So if you use, for example, new construction that start from smaller normal residential buildings for 4,000 euros. So apartment buildings with 2, 3 or 4 stories. For single family house or double houses, it only costs around 700 euros. So these are certification fees. And then it depends, you need a DGNB auditor, and this depends really very strongly. So what services he has to offer. If you have a more or less standard building and you also only want to achieve maybe DGNB silver, then the effort for the auditor is not really high compared if you want to be platinum and get the DGNB diamond and so on. So this is not so easy to answer. It's also an aspect, for example, we have some clients, they do a basic certification for their building standards. So they do the basic certification, that's the idea. And for each building, they only have to show us what differs from the basic certification. And with this process, it's really slim and less effort to do the certification. So yes, we have to look at the project, and then maybe we can get you a number more or less how much it will cost. But at the end, you have to contact also some DGNB auditors to have the right answer.
Okay, so the main idea would be to contact the auditor and then work with them to achieve, or to work with them to achieve the certification.
Yeah.
For information, I put on a chat the link to certification fees, so fee structure, so everyone can click on it and see the insights.
But it's a normal process, yeah. If you're not if you really do not know which auditor you have to choose, you can contact also us, and we can discuss with you maybe which auditor is also have an office in Ireland, for example, and can get you some more information about the scheme. But in general, the client can go directly to the DGNB auditor, yes.
Okay, great. We have another question in here. Is it, does the DGNB districts recognize local environmental assessment methods such as the Home Performance Index? So does it recognize like local environmental assessments?
Yes, so as Levan told before, so we always adapt our criteria to local condition and norms. And if you have there a local norm for different approaches, then we can use also this, and you do not have to use a norm we use here in Germany, for example. That's possible, yes.
Excellent.
To use it.
Not only for districts, so for buildings as well. So there is always some kind of adaptation process, and when something locally is existing, we only see this as an advantage, because you cannot really write a scheme for the globe in one page, so it's always need to be adapted, and this is always a first question whether something exists or not and locally. So the same process was to every system partners. They took a system and adapted to the local use. So that's an unique approach of the flexibility of the system from the DGNB. So we kind of are giving them, sharing the knowledge, and then you can use it locally and run locally as well.
Yeah, I think integration with the local context is very important, and collaborating with local people is very important as well. So we have another question in there. Who are the main drivers of the sustainability and certification agenda? Is it driven by investors, developers, architects, or the tenants?
So at the beginning, 10 years ago, it was mainly driven by also by the tenants at the end. Yeah. So bigger companies would say they only go rent in office buildings who are certified, and so there were investors who say, okay, if we want to build a new office building in the main city, we have to have their certification. So this was a main driver 10 years ago, and it's still a driver. But we see that in the last years, also more and more municipalities, but also bigger companies who have a big building stock and build their several new buildings, do the certification for them to get on the one side a quality assurance that they can ensure that they get really a sustainable buildings for their employees, but also to show in their CSR reports, and so that they do their something for also on the building side next to their processes and other related criteria to sustainability. And as I mentioned, 2 years ago, where the big discussion right now is also on EU level about EU taxonomy and ESG rating aspects, also from this side. Also at the end, also the banks, for example, who are interested to, or in bigger portfolio owners who are interested to certify the whole building portfolio. It's also a big driver in the last 2 years.
Okay, excellent. John, we'll ask you to come in if you don't mind. Just a question there. Do you think the DGNB system is applicable to the Irish context, or what's your views on it from listening to the guys there this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
Sorry?
Sorry, Stephan, go ahead.
No, I mean in the in Europe, the local norms and regulations are really similar. We see that in Spain and Denmark. We have a lot of experience. So I think also an adaptation from the DGNB system in Ireland will be possible, and we have a lot of experience to adapt this aspects. Outside from Europe, that's always a question. In some cases, it's not so easy to adapt this, but in Ireland, I think it should be possible, yes.
John, would you like to come in there with a comment?
Yes, in terms of, one of the aspects of the DGNB system is also looking at the broader aspects in terms of the districts around the developments, and that's important. I know we have the Irish Green Building Council here and the Home Performance Index, but I think the two, could mesh well together, because we just need to look at things in a more holistic way. One question maybe I have for Stephan or Levan is in relation to the broader district. So if you think about housing development or a mixed-use development, what are some of the key aspects of getting the district elements right from a sustainability point of view? What do you see as kind of key items that may be overlooked at times?
Yeah, I mean, also like for buildings, the location, I think that's the most important point where the district is built. It's a part of the city, a brownfield, or outside of the city. I think that's the one key question. And then also a question about density and uses. So mixed use to build a not only residential plot with very only single houses, so have there also a mix on social aspects and different uses, and have at the end also a good energy supply on the district side, or produce also energy on this side. If you do these aspects, then I think you already achieved also a good award in the DGNB. But yes, for sure, you can do a lot of more open spaces with a lot of biodiversity and so. I think the points I mentioned before that are the most important points. Also to get a good evaluation, and I think also personally to have also a good project.
And Stephan, how important is connections with sustainable transport for the DGNB district certification?
We have there two criteria: focus on mobility. So one is for motorized mobility, and the other one is for pedestrian and bicycling. So there's a strong focus also on the evaluation at the end. And for the district certification, we focus also not only on the district itself, also where it's located, where's the next kindergarten, the next bus station, and so on. So how the district is integrated into the city. So mobility is a really important point, yes, also.
Okay, we've another question come in there. Levan, I don't know whether if this one is for you. Somebody says, I know this is a hypothetical question, but what added value in monetary terms do you think certification brings? So we're all about the money here today, but it looks at the questions.
Yeah, that's not a hypothetical, because we did the survey, so we know precisely what is all about. So we saw that actually there was an income increase of, at least from the savings and the renting price. There was about 41 office buildings who participated in this survey. So they saw that between 7 and 12% even. So it's a huge number in terms of the very high competence in the German market. So where the companies are competing for each percentage. So suddenly 7% as an add-on feature it's a quite attractive one. And the second, I think it's even more important, that I already told that in the 2009-10, where there was a small crisis worldwide, I mean, there was a absence of the renting areas, about the 20-30%. So if you had 100 square foot, the 70 will be only rented and 30 just waited for the next client. And in the certified building, it was only below 5%. So you securing also your your real estate as well. So when you go as a user, actually, as a client on the market, and sees the two buildings, one certified, one not, and you see the price tags are the same, what you choose, especially when outside is a financial crisis. Naturally, you go for the more performer with the same price, because especially this is very important for office building, because if you have a build business and the office must perform and also bring your all the comfort possible to your employees. If they don't perform well, so your business will fail. So you will better think twice before you choose what to rent. So that's also our focus, to focus on the social aspects, as like a visual comfort, thermal comfort, acoustic comfort, indoor air quality. So these always a very interesting point for those who renting and buying also the office spaces, because as I said, there are major expenditures on the salaries, 90%. So if they fail, I mean the staff is failing because of something unpleasant happening in a building or surrounding of it. So you will just get out of the competency. I mean, and from the you will fail on the market. So that's as easy as it sounds. So that's why I think there was an answer always highlighted. It's not only a marketing tool. It's definitely not. It's all about the money as well. So that's why also I said that it should be a business as usual, and sustainability, it's one quality line which must be held on.
Yeah, and you're right. It's sustainability needs to be seen more than just kind of green people doing things because they feel it needs to be done. Yeah, no.
So I think we are sustainable. Our certification system, it's a second generation. It's not a green label, it's a blue label, I would say, which is not only about the environment and put everything on a stake because of something. It's all about the holistic approach. It's also about the lucrativity of the project, etc. So those are all aspects. When you find your golden middle, then you succeed. Otherwise, that's very questionable.
Yes, definitely. I should have worn my blue and green jumper today. I was just thinking. Okay, we have another question in there. How does the DGNB rate fire safety? Should this not be local regulations? But I think it is. Am I correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. Actually, we're asking for whether you are fulfilling the local regulation, yes or no, with a very simple question and answer as well. So they have to provide that they are definitely fulfilling the requirements, and then we also putting the improvement only an extra bonus points if you improve or if you do extra rather than this it is required by the law. So naturally, we are not checking, we are not kind of certifying with a fire safety. So it should be other way around. They should bring us that it's already certified from the local authorities. And if they put or invest something as a bonus, as an improvement in fire safety or fire avoidance system, they can get the bonus points from us as well.
Excellent. We have a kind of left to center question here. Is sustainability of the built environment covered under the UN Sustainable Development Goals? I suppose we could all answer that, all the panelists on a different scale, but do you guys, how important, I suppose, is the UN Sustainable Development Goals to your work or to the system?
We have a direct link in the criteria. So when you open the criteria, you see which UN goals are linked to it and how big is in importance. So we have three major ranks. So it's a very important, it's a moderate and the low importance. So when you open each and every criteria, you can go for Google right now, for example, for the DGNB criteria, it's free to see and download in the PDF format. So you see on the very first or second page there is the logos and numbers of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and also how important and which are are linked to with the certain criteria. So definitely yes, and that's why we say that actually the DGNB certification, it can be also the certification which one certification cover up the SDGs as well, and there's also EU requirements for the taxonomy. So it makes so with one didn't want to say, but with one shot you can get the 3 rabbits. So yeah.
Just, I suppose, one kind of final question from our end, because we're coming up to an hour now, so time flies when you're having fun. How important is it to engage before you build a building, or you think of where you're going to put a housing development? So how important is the pre-planning process? So
wow, this is definitely the decisive point, I think. Right now in Germany, I think it's not more the it's clear when you have to jump into the planning phase, and we are not seeing the weird calls like I've got a couple of years ago. We just finished the building, now I want to certify this. My answer was, okay, yeah, great, happy for you, maybe next time, because you have to know what you're going to do, and the planning it does have a really big importance, because with the same budget you can really plan twice a better building as you may have without knowing how to do this. For example, we are really making indoor air quality tests on the site, so I mean inside the rooms after the finishing of them. What if you fail and you overlap the threshold? You are just excluded from the certification itself. So that's to avoid this, you have to really think about what to put in the room. So what kind of paints, what kind of glues, what kind of carpets, etc. So without the planning and before the tendering or designing phase, I think it's quite important to get a good result. Or how can you describe this, Stephan, maybe better?
No, I think it is very important also on the district scale. For example, we have done there then on Monday and Tuesday a workshop also with a bigger municipality here in Germany, and very often that's still the case that there is the urban planning team that do urban planning. After this, there come the mobility planner, and then there come the open space planner and so on. But it do not come together at a really early planning stage. Also in this case where we have done the workshop, and there we have seen which potential we have missed there also, yeah, because they don't speak together at a really early planning stage. And we have done this now and give there also a big and high quality inside the project. So on district scale, I think it's also even more important than on the building scale, but also on the building scale, it's really important that bring all together at a really early planning stage, yes.
So so come together at the planning stage, everyone talk to each other, collaborate and engage to get both the buildings right and the districts right. So guys, look, yes. I want to thank you very much for your time. John, would you like to come in with a final word before we finish up?
No, just no, thanks, Stephan and Levan, in terms of being here today and sharing your thoughts with us and giving us the presentation. And I'd like to thank everyone who attended this session. In terms of sustainability, it's critical in terms of what we do into the future. I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks very much, John. As I said, Stephan, Levan, thank you very much for your time. I hope we've inspired or at least nudged some of our stakeholders here today to think about the DGNB system. If anyone has any further questions, please send them in to me and I will send them on to the guys. Other than that, we will send out a copy of the presentation and a recording of the presentation to everyone listening here today. Again, thanks to John for his input. Thanks to Levan. Thanks to Stephan. We wish you the best of luck with the system, and hopefully you will be hearing from us here in Ireland very, very soon with a project. Okay, guys, thanks for your time and thanks to everyone listening.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for having us and sorry for interruptions.
No, you're okay, no problem at all, guys. Thanks a million. Bye.
Bye.